Mission Save the Hunter, Chapter 3. Hey, little savior, are you planning to sleep right now? It was just as they entered the swamp area. Having finished a fierce battle with the monsters, Yunso was resting with a friend when a scruffy, bearded man started picking a fight out of nowhere. Before Yunso could respond, his friend stepped in. Mister, you're Hunter Kim Hongtae, right? Leave Chae-yoon alone. He's tired. You're at it again. Are you his manager or something? Little Savior's handler? And don't call him Little Savior. You know Chae-yoon hates that nickname. Doesn't he have a mouth of his own? Always needs someone to speak for him. When are you finally going to take off that mask? What if you're glaring daggers at us from behind, huh? Though the content of his words was provoking, his tone and gaze were full of mischief. If it had been a genuine challenge, Yunso would have responded. But since it wasn't, he simply ignored the man and turned over to face the other way. The blatant disregard made the man yell in frustration, and Yunso's friend quickly stepped in to block him. Mr. Kim, leave our ace alone and go help deal with the small fry. Why are you all on my case? The little savior and Lee Do-min are lying down and sleeping too. Do you know how hard So Chae-yoon and Do-min worked both above and below the swamp? If we have any decency, we should let them rest. Hey, Kim Hongtae, are you coming over here or not? If you wake up our ace, you're dead, mister. Ugh, damn it, everyone's always picking on me. Grumbling, the man walked off. Yunso's friend let out a small sigh and sat down nearby. Yunso fell asleep, the smell of blood lingering in his nostrils. The man died much later. Kim Hongtae, his lower body burned to a crisp, and black blood constantly spilling out of his mouth, grabbed on to Yunso's hand. Chae-yoon. At the time, Yunso's mask had broken, leaving him no choice but to reveal his face, but his real name remained unknown. Since his friend had died earlier, there was no one left to call him by his true name. Mister. Yunso held the remains of the man, barely recognizable as a body. The once bear-like figure had withered to the point where his bones jutted out, and his eyes were so clouded it seemed he could no longer see anything. You punk! While the others are dealing with small fry, you just sleep all the time. And that mask, huh? If you're going to throw it away, just give it to me. I was going to sell it for a fortune. The man weakly lifted his hand, and Yunso quickly took it. You are such a young boy. I didn't realize. The man could barely open his eyes now. Yunso swallowed and swallowed the burning lump rising from deep in his throat. He didn't cry, fearing he might miss the man's final moments if he did. I'm about to die, aren't I, Chae-yoon? I have a wish. Will you grant it for me? Chae-yoon, when you get out of here, the man left his last words. Eat 100 bowls of gut bop, sprinkle them with pepper. It was such an absurd final request that any tears threatening to fall instantly retreated. Mister, even that ridiculous last request, I kept it. Not just kept it, I ate so much of it that I got sick of it. So, please stop lingering in my head now. Yunso grumbled like the man once had, stepping out of the car. The sunlight was still so strong that he raised a hand to shade his brow. Are you from the Guild of Leaves? An employee from Daejeong Securities, who had been waiting, immediately approached Yunso. He quickly bowed and adjusted his expression. Even from a distance, just sensing the magic flow was enough to see how severely the Rainbow Guild shield trap had been damaged. Shield trap maintenance usually only required about an hour for one person to complete, much less time than the lengthy process of installation. Yet, even with 2 people working for 2 hours, only 30% of the trap had been restored. There was a reason for this. Both Park Youngbum and Go Hee-won, utterly drained of magic and physical strength, were practically at death's door. As soon as Yunso arrived, they ran to him with tears streaming down their faces. You're here, our team ace. I thought I wouldn't be able to go home today. Appa, why are you so late? I got here as fast as I could. Yunso effortlessly dodged the 2 rushing at him and immediately inspected the trap. Not that there was much need. Given the scale of the shield trap for a building over 50 stories tall, Yun-so had already identified the issue the moment he parked in the garage. The problem lies in the magic injection phase of the components. At this rate, it won't last even a month. Of course you'd spot it at a glance. They must have deliberately botched the maintenance to sell replacements under the guise of poor management. Those bastards, claiming to be the 5th-ranked guild in Korea. What a bunch of crooks. Rainbow scumbags need to be publicly shamed sometime. Their thuggish behavior has gone too far. Instead of keeping quiet, we should report them somewhere. Exactly what I'm saying. Where have all the brave awakened people in Korea gone? Reporting it to the press won't help, but if someone uploads a whistleblowing video on HunterNet, that'd do the trick. Why don't we be the brave whistleblowers? I don't have a HunterNet account, so how about using Kiwon's? Team leader, signing up for HunterNet is super easy. I'll sign you up. You'll go down in history as the courageous whistleblower. Oh, I almost forgot. Kiwon, look at this. My phone's camera lens is broken, so I might have to use yours to record. Team leader, what should I do? My screen is completely busted. Yun-so looked at the two people using the skill Spark to break their phone lenses and screens with utter disdain. Even in this situation, it seemed they had reserved magic to use for pointless tasks. Clicking his tongue, Yun-so turned his attention back to the trap. To be honest, fixing this would take just 10 seconds. He glanced at his watch. 4:12 p.m. Quitting time was 6 o'clock. I guess I'll have to stretch this out for 2 hours. Yun-so gathered his magic and moved his fingers. He failed. He couldn't stretch it out to the goal time. Yun-so ended up finishing the trap repair at 5:30 p.m. Dragging out the work was proving to be a challenging task for an office worker with only 30 minutes left until quitting time. Even though the two of us spent 2 hours on it, we could only get 30% done. He's always been weirdly fast. As a result, Yun-so endured the piercing stares of Park Youngbum and Go Hee-won all the way to the guild dinner at the barbecue restaurant. Seriously, the amazing thing is that there are hardly any AS requirements for what Yun-so Appa handles. Even the Sokyung's guild's installation team has a repair rate of 20%, but Appa's rate is what, 2% at best? What amazes me is that Yun-so, with all his skills, keeps declining promotions. He joined a month after the guild was founded, so he's practically an original member. His career is long, and his skills are top-notch. Honestly, the only reason I became team leader is that he refused the position. Even now, if he wanted it, I'd give him the spot. He said he doesn't want to deal with meetings during collaborations with other guilds or entertaining clients. Appa would absolutely hate that. Oh, not that I'm saying Appa is antisocial or anything. He's the type that grows on you the longer you know him. Anyway, the point is that Yun-so Appa is a genius. More like a nerd secretly hiding his strength, don't you think? A nerd? Team leader, have you ever seen a nerd this good looking? If you call him a hidden beauty, it doesn't sound like he's hiding anything. Let's just call him a hunter hiding his strength. Having learned from experience that responding would only encourage their conspiracy theories further, Yun-so silently focused on flipping the meat. After all, they weren't genuinely suspicious of his identity. They just wanted to tease him. What are you all talking about? The voice that suddenly interrupted belonged to Park Subin from the dungeon raid team. He had returned the day before after clearing a C-rank dungeon. Though he'd only been with the Guild of Leaves for a year, his exceptional sociability quickly endeared him to everyone. Oh, it's Lasbin Appa. Call me Subin. This isn't work. Hunter named Lasbin, real name Park Subin, smiled warmly. Combat hunters often used hunter names. Some disliked being called by their real names, and there were those who referred to non-combat hunters dismissively as desk job awakeners. Park Subin was not one of them. The Guild of Leaves wasn't known for exceptional strength, but it was a collection of individuals with outstanding character. Yun-so always found it curious where the guild master found such people. Appa, sit here. Thanks. Go Hee-won moved aside to make space for Park Subin. Park Subin, with his light brown curly hair bouncing, sat next to Yoon-so and smiled softly at him. Yoon-so, hi. Hello. You're speaking formally again. That's disappointing. Park Soo-bin playfully furrowed his brows. From the moment he first joined the guild, Park Soo-bin had this peculiar habit of cozying up to Yoon-so. Not long ago, he had even suggested, should we drop formalities with each other? Yoon-so, preferring to stick to formal language, flatly refused, but Park Soo-bin persisted. However, no matter how casual he acted, he couldn't bring himself to drop formalities with Yoon-so, who remained consistently polite. In the end, both of them continued speaking formally to each other. So, what were you talking about before? Oh, nothing much. We were just amazed at how Yoon-so Appa finished trap maintenance in just an hour again today. He did it so quickly this time too, just like before. It's almost suspicious how impressive he is. Go Hee-won and Park Yeon-bum enthusiastically began recounting Yoon-so's achievements. I don't even understand what you're talking about. I've never done trap maintenance. Can you compare it to something in dungeon strategy? We've never strategized in a dungeon either, so we can't really compare. Have you two never entered a dungeon? We did back in our early days, but we didn't contribute much to the strategy. I only went twice, failed both times, then switched to desk jobs. I entered 3 times before giving up. It's been 5 years since I last went into a dungeon, but I still find them terrifying. I really respect dungeon strategy teams. Go Hee-won gave a thumbs up to the dungeon strategy team members seated diagonally across from her. They smiled and waved off her praise. Except for the strategy team of the Guild of Leaves, everyone present were hunters who didn't participate in combat. Balancing fear and curiosity about dungeons, they began peppering the team with various questions. Is it true that time doesn't flow inside dungeons? That's the oldest misconception. Time flows perfectly normally. What about the rumor that treasure chests with amazing items sometimes appear? Oh, that one's true. If you find one, it's like winning the lottery. You can even get S-rank items from B-rank dungeons. Have you ever found one? None of us have. If we had, do you think we'd still be sitting here like this? Everyone burst out laughing at a hunter's lament. Yoon-so took a sip of his drink, relieved that the conversation had shifted to a different topic. What about you, Yoon-so? Ah, right. Park Soo-bin was still next to him. Yoon-so turned to ask him back. About what? You must have been in a dungeon before too. Did it not suit you? Chapter 4. Park Soo-bin, who was kind to everyone, but especially to Yoon-so, smiling more often when he was with him, seemed more interested in Yoon-so than the chatter happening elsewhere. I've never been inside a dungeon. Really? Usually, people go at least once to see if it suits their abilities. It's obvious without even trying. I'm a coward. Yoon-so, your skills are in the protection category, right? That's technically combat-oriented. What a waste. Do you have any offensive skills at all? None. What about you, Soo-bin? I also only have healing and defensive skills. I'm purely a healer. If you're a healer, there must be plenty of places asking for you. Why are you here, struggling with us? At Yoon-so's comment, Park Soo-bin chuckled softly. That depends on the healer. C-grade healers aren't that popular. With a laugh, Park Soo-bin poured a drink into Yoon-so's glass. Yoon-so, in turn, filled Park Soo-bin's glass and activated a skill. The Encyclopedia of People skill has been activated, viewing the target system profile. A translucent window, visible only to Yoon-so, appeared before him. Encyclopedia People, Park Soo-bin, 30 years old, male, grade A, currently disguised as C grade, with the item Masquerade, trait Healer, protected by the God of Light, protected by the God of Love. Skills, Baptized by Light, S, Shield of Light, B, Touch of Light, A. Special skills, Pathfinder, A, Bacteria, A. Additional statuses can only be viewed in dungeons. It was the same status window that he had seen when Park Soo-bin was recruited last year. The masquerade was an A-grade item that allowed the user to alter one category of their system profile, such as grade, traits, or skills, at will. However, it didn't work against Yunso's encyclopedia of people. Thanks to that, Yunso saw the unaltered truth. The first time he saw it, he had a hard time keeping a straight face. A-grade hunters were a rarity, with only about 1,000 in the world. Yet, one of those high-ranking hunters had disguised himself as a C-grade and joined a minor guild with almost no presence. When Yunso discreetly probed the guildmaster, even he believed Park Subin was a C-grade. Someone I know introduced me to him. He awakened 5 years ago as a C-grade healer. We needed a healer anyway, and he seemed like a good person, so I brought him in right away. When Yunso traced the introduction back through various connections, it led him to dead ends. The chain of introductions was too long and fragmented to investigate further. A person with blessings from 2 gods and even S-grade skills, it's uncommon. The fact that someone like that had disguised himself as a C-grade to join this minor guild could only mean he had a hidden agenda. But why? What reason would an A-grade hunter have to infiltrate such a lackluster place? At first, Yunso thought it might be curiosity. However, if it were mere curiosity, he wouldn't have stayed here for an entire year, wasting his time. No matter how much Yunso racked his brain, he couldn't guess the reason. Yunso, what are you thinking so deeply about? Park Subin lightly tapped Yunso's shoulder. Yunso answered smoothly. I wasn't thinking about anything. By the way, thank you for your efforts yesterday. I'm glad you returned safely. The dungeon cleared by the strategy team yesterday was a B-grade navy-colored explosion-type dungeon that had appeared deep in the mountains of Chungbuk. Dungeons are categorized by type, grade, and color. First, there are 2 dungeon types, the explosion type and the flood type. The former refers to a type where, once the dungeon's timer runs out, the dungeon and the surrounding area explode. The latter refers to a type where monsters inside the dungeon overflow outward, much like a collapsed dam. Next, the grade indicates the level of the boss monster appearing in the dungeon, ranging from F grade to S grade. Lastly, the color refers to the portal's color when the dungeon appears. There are 5 levels: red, orange, yellow, navy, and green. The criterion represents the danger level of the dungeon's terrain. For example, if the portal color is green, even an A-grade dungeon is considered safe as long as the boss is dealt with. Such dungeons are easy to gather byproducts like herbs, ores, or monster hides, so they're often called herbal dungeons. Conversely, even an F-grade dungeon with a bright red portal might mean that the boss monster is just a large rat, but the terrain could be a lava field or a sulfuric zone. Hence, people often refer to red-tiered dungeons as spicy dungeons. The recently cleared explosion type B-grade Navy dungeon was tackled by 3 guilds, including the Guild of Leaves, in a joint raid. Clearing it took an entire day. Considering that most members of those minor guilds are C-grade hunters, except for one who is secretly an A-grade, this was a decent result. Park Subin likely helped in subtle ways. It's been a year for me now, too. It's thanks to good teamwork. They're all good people, aren't they? Yes, since awakening, I've been to various places, but this is the first time I've been somewhere with only kind people. Park Subin smiled faintly. Yunso seized the moment to use his skill. The confidence skill has been activated. Assessing the target statement: confidence 80, neutral 10, doubt 10, 80% confidence. Yunso was slightly surprised. Even if Park Subin possessed a skill defense item, it wouldn't work against confidence scale. No matter the defense item's grade, it would be lower than Yunso's skill grade. In other words, Park Subin's recent statement was genuine. You're here because you like the people, Yunso. Not the people, more the money. It's rare to find a small guild that offers this kind of salary. At Yun-so's indifferent reply, Park Subin squinted his eyes with a smile. Yun-so, now that I think about it, you're pretty sly. The least money-driven person I've ever met just lied without a single change in expression. I like money. I'm a golden rule enthusiast. Then if someone offers a higher salary, would you leave? I'd actively consider it, wouldn't you? I'm more of a people person than a money person. As the conversation lingered on him, an uneasy Yun-so turned the topic back to Park Subin. With a charming smile, Subin answered right away. Yun-so examined the man's brown irises for any trace of conspiracy, but found nothing. Let's just drink. Yun-so cleaned his glass against Subin's and downed it in one go. Emptying the glass cleanly, he promptly poured another drink. Since this was a barbecue place specifically for awakened individuals, the alcohol served was also tailored for them. Hunters up to B grade could get pleasantly tipsy. When the glass was about 1/3 full, Subin took the soju bottle away. Aren't you drinking too much? This is just the start. What's with the weak attitude? Take it easy today. The guildmaster said they had an important announcement. Don't worry, I won't get drunk before the guildmaster arrives. Yun-so grabbed the bottle of alcohol and finished filling his glass. Park Subin raised an eyebrow in slight exasperation, but just then, Go Hee-won began speaking to Park Subin. It was a question about the monsters appearing in the dungeon. With others also eagerly watching, Park Subin had no choice but to answer their questions. Yun-so glanced at the kind-hearted A-rank hunter. Could he really have joined this place just to work with good people? In any case, Yun-so had no intention of interfering as long as this guy didn't cause harm to the Guild of Leaves. The Guildmaster's here! Finally! This guy sure knows how to be on time. By the time they had replaced the grills on the table 3 times, the Guildmaster Ki Sang-hyuk arrived. Contrary to his usual appearance, Ki Sang-hyuk had dressed up in a sharp suit, but as soon as he entered the room and saw the empty bottle stacked in the corner, his face soured. Why the hell did you all drink so much? It's been a while since we had alcohol for awakeners, so it tasted good. Don't worry, no one's drunk. You guys are killing me. With all of you being awakeners, there are only 12 people here, but every time we have a gathering, we burn through hundreds. Seriously, you're going to nag us after showing up late? Go Hee-won glared at him. Ki Sang-hyuk shook his head. Sitting at the central seat Go Hee-won had prepared, the guildmaster first addressed the dungeon raid team, expressing his gratitude. You returned after clearing it yesterday, right? Good job, everyone. Did you get your injuries properly treated? Yes, Subin handled the healing perfectly. Thanks to you all, our guild can afford to hold gatherings in such expensive places. I'm always grateful. Let's give a round of applause to our dungeon raid team. The guild members eagerly clapped and cheered, while the dungeon raid team members blushed with embarrassment but looked proud. Of course, the guildmaster's words were far from the truth. In most guilds, dungeon-related ventures accounted for 70 to 80% of revenue, with the rest coming from trap installations and similar services. In contrast, the Guild of Leaves had its dungeon raid and public aid teams contributing almost equally at a 5.5 to 4.5 ratio. This was largely because the Guild's shield trap installation services were cheaper and significantly more reliable than competitors, a reputation spread by word of mouth. The low failure rate was entirely thanks to Yun-so's contribution. However, in gatherings involving all guild members, the guild master always praised and highlighted the achievements of the dungeon raid team. Given that they risked their lives in dungeons, it was only fair to give them extra recognition. In small guilds, such preferential treatment might lead to jealousy and discord, but the Guild of Leaves was uniquely composed of kind-hearted individuals, so no one criticized it. So why are you dressed like that today, Guildmaster? Did you meet your daughter's boyfriend? No way! If the Guildmaster were meeting his daughter's boyfriend, he wouldn't dress like this. He'd show up in his hunter gear, weapon strapped to his waist, and smashed the meeting table while threatening, "If you make my princess shed a single tear, your back will end up like this table." Unfortunately, today, I met someone even more important than my daughter's boyfriend. Someone more important than Song-Hee's boyfriend? Everyone's eyes widened in shock. Ki Sang-hyuk loosened his tie. "I did say I had an important announcement today, didn't I?" "Yes, that's why we're all here. Even Yoon-seo for once." "All right, let me explain. I met with someone crucial regarding this announcement." "Really?" Go Hee-won, burning with curiosity, urged him to speak quickly. Ki Sang-hyuk scanned the room, meeting the curious eyes of everyone present. His gaze briefly passed over Park Soo-bin, who was smiling as usual, before landing on Yoon-seo, whose expression remained as indifferent as ever. Clearing his throat, Ki Sang-hyuk began. "A few days ago, the Sokyong Guild approached us. They proposed a merger with our guild. And just now, I placed my seal of approval on the merger contract."